This is the Modern Architect radio show and podcast. The Modern Architect features one-on-one interviews with renowned and cutting-edge architects, influencers, and sustainability leaders. Our show informs and illuminates the transformation that architecture brings to our cities, communities, and lives. And now, introducing the host of The Modern Architect, Tom Dioro.
Thank you. Today we're joined by John Stanaland, real estate broker and principal. John's family history in real estate spans several generations and started in 1919. Yes, 1919. You can find him on the web at johnstanaland.com. Again, that's johnstanaland.com. Today's episode is made possible by Modeler, the rapidly growing community for AEC professionals to find and share design inspiration. Created and maintained by architects, join hundreds of thousands of other AEC professionals who are part of the Modeler community. Visit modeler.com and follow Modeler on your favorite social media channels for regular design inspiration. Hey, John, we're honored and real excited to have you on the show today. Thank you very much for being here, for us being here on your boat.
Thank you very much for having me.
John, tell us where we are in your boat. We'd love to hear this.
We happen to be in Newport Harbor, Basin Marine, on my fishing yacht.
Oh, outstanding. And when we first got on, you said you chase the...
We target bluefin tuna. We chase a lot of bluefin tuna.
How'd that get started, really?
Yeah, I've fished my whole life and just always been a fisherman. And the big bluefin showed up here 6 or 7 years ago, and it's just something we do when they're here, typically June through October, November.
Excellent. Now, we talked in our, this time we were person to person, about your history, your family history, and that you have a legacy here in Orange County, specifically Laguna Beach. Share with us what it really means to you to know that you're, in a lot of ways, carrying on a legacy.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate. I grew up in a real estate broker, real estate development family and background. My grandparents were developers. My father was a developer, military special forces, and also an attorney and a broker. And I've carried on a long line of brokering, selling, development. Very proud to be where I am today.
Yeah. Was that something that was either instilled in you when you were younger, or is just something you kind of absorbed it and said, I like this?
I grew up around it, so
Okay.
I was always watching my grandparents, my father, doing meetings, doing deals, going to development sites, watching them turn developments into housing tracts, and it always interested me. Always just loved it from an early age, and I think I picked up a lot just from being around them.
Definitely. John, what I really, there's a lot of things I like, talking with you here, but for your audience today, especially on the Modern Architect Show, they're thinking, real estate, architecture, design. The reason why I selected you is, one, obviously, I love the work the homes that I've seen on your site.
Thank you.
Two, you also had a great legacy here. And so you've experienced personally and professionally the real estate market within the last, 20?
I've been selling residential real estate for 25 years, but like I said, I grew up around it, development and, brokers.
That's why you're here, because I'd love to hear how you heard your family talk about things, say, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And even before then, how the marketplace has changed and shifted.
Yes.
And from what you can recall, even in your earliest recollection in regards to development and real estate, can you shar some experiences?
When I started in the business, 25 years ago, you could still buy homes in Laguna Beach for, $200,000, $300,000, which, it's a little different these days.
Wow. What has that done? How has the buyer changed?
It's interesting. Laguna Beach, Newport Beach, we've always had our core people who have lived here, locals, and then we've had people that come from Arizona, San Francisco, other areas. I would say with the shift in values and just everything that has happened, there is still that segment of people, but the demographic of people who buy in buy and live here has definitely changed too. I mean, we have everything from international to East Coast to, pretty much anybody you can think of.
And how about your? Do you have without giving away intellectual property, is a process that you go through when you interview new prospective clients?
Well, I think we interview each other.
Okay.
I mean, when you go to list a property, obviously they typically interview several people and, want to see what your track record is, your knowledge of the market, how savvy you are on what has sold and what is pending. And then on the flip side, also when we're interviewing a client, you want to make sure it's a good match.
And then with that match, is there something determinate, or is it just kind of a vibe or a feel or a sense?
I mean, everybody has different needs, so you want to make sure that one, you jive with the personality, and two, you can meet their needs and expectations.
If you were to say what has changed in the last, I know you've been doing this for 25 years, but what's changed, say, let's go within the last 2 years?
Well, the last 2 years, it's interesting. With COVID, I think it's really shifted a lot of people's perspective. There's more people working for home and buying larger properties that can actually work from home. There's more people buying properties that they want to vacation in, stay in, just with travel being a little challenging and some of the other aspects. It is definitely an interesting shift. There's also been a big shift in valuation the last couple of years. The values have gone way up the last 2 years.
And was that foreseeable?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I've been pretty accurate calling the market most of my career. I knew the crash of 2008 was coming in 2006, started warning my clients. We had a slowdown in 2018 through 2019. I knew that was coming in 2016. It wasn't a crash, but it was a slowdown. When COVID hit and the shutdown happened, pretty much everybody I know, including myself, thought the market was done. I mean, we all did. It stayed stagnant for about 45, 60 days and then took off, and it's just continued to run. I mean, inventory has become less and less, and values have increased, and demand has continued to increase.
What's your thoughts on the impact design has on the sellability of homes?
Good question. So, prior to COVID, there were more remodel, renovation buyers. They would look for location and something they could make into what they wanted, in addition to things that were turnkey, done new. With COVID, it changed the market a lot from the standpoint most people want turnkey, move in. So the properties that are done fit today's styles architecturally. Those get the biggest premiums as opposed to anything that is a fixer or needs a remodel. People just don't want to spend the time.
How important is that for your clients? The speed of them making either getting into a home or selling their home.
It depends on the clients. Depends on each client. I mean, some want to sell sooner than later. To be transparent, there's number of people who have moved out of state in the last year. Those people wanted to sell sooner than later. As far as people buying, most people want to get into their homes.
Yeah. How do you stay abreast of all the changes? Because it seems like within the last 2 years, there's probably been more changes than maybe the last 10 or 15.
I mean, I live, sleep, and drink real estate. I'm 24/7. This is what I do.
Okay. And is that something that you knew you were going to have to do to be useful to the market?
I've always been a pretty driven person. It's just kind of my personality. Come from a bit of a sports background prior to real estate, and it's just the way I've done the business since I started.
Yeah, let's talk a little about your sports background. Yeah, our audience may like, what had this in? But I think there's relevancy to it.
Prior to real estate, I was in martial arts. I'm a third-degree black belt and did a lot of training, teaching, competing. I also played some professional volleyball in my late teens, early 20s. So that's what I did before real estate.
Excellent. This is awesome, John. This is also The Modern Architect, KZSU Stanford 90.1 FM. We're talking today with John Stanaland. luxury Orange County real estate broker and principal. For more information, feel free to visit the website, johnstanaland.com. Again, that's johnstanaland.com. John, how do you feel? I know we touched on it before we started your show today. Is the transference of being in sports and participating competitively in sports, and how it works in business?
It's interesting. So, being in the business for 25 years, and working with a lot of different people, and training people, having people work with me for me. A lot of the sports people do very well in the business. They come from a background of training, endurance, repetitiveness. So it's interesting. I would say people that come from a sports background do have a good shot at doing well in the business.
In your opinion, why so? Yeah.
I just think it's a mindset.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a mindset.
Can you tell the difference in those that do or don't?
I mean, there are people that don't come from sports backgrounds,
Sure,
obviously, that do very well. But I've run into a lot of people that have come from that background that do well, and yes, I can tell the difference.
We talked about the real estate is really, and development is a contact sport. I mean, it's not a sport, but in a sense.
Oh, it's a contact sport.
Okay, yeah. Elaborate, please.
Contact sport without the contact.
No fouls.
Yeah, no. There's a lot that goes into it. I mean, there's a lot in negotiating deals. There's a lot in, making sure your clients get the right deal. You want to make sure they don't overpay. You want to make sure they're okay. For me too, I like to maintain my clients. A lot of my clients are repeat, and I've done 10, 15, 20 deals for them over the years. And if you don't take care of them, make sure that they get a good property project, do well, you don't maintain the client.
And maintaining the client, how much would you say is actually the paperwork, the transaction, and how much is actually person-to-person interaction? Well,
pretty much everything I do is person to person. I mean, if I send an offer, it's via email, but I pick up the phone. I'm a firm believer in sense of urgency and, personal negotiating things personally, at least in the phone or in person. On the phone or in person.
What's your thoughts on, we've moved into the digital age, so to speak.
Yes.
And how much has that impacted your relationship with your clients, and that so much is digital and not so face-to-face?
Yeah, I mean, the face-to-face is less than it used to be. There's no question. But I still like to negotiate either in person or on the phone. I don't like to negotiate via text, email. I'd rather pick up the phone and speak with somebody. It's just, to me, it's more personal. It's the way I like to do things.
Yeah, how do you feel about that? There's other, obviously, real estate platforms that are almost strictly online. Like the transaction is not too dissimilar from ordering an oven or a refrigerator.
Yeah, I mean, they're very impersonal. They're not very practical, in my opinion.
Sure.
There's a lot of things that come up during an escrow. I mean, just a lot of things, a lot of moving parts, a lot of personalities, problems. So being able to manage all of that is really hard to do with an app.
So the human element is, in your experience, opinion, and foresight, is always going to be key in the transaction of property.
A good professional agent, broker, escrow company, title company, I mean, they can make or break your sale, and also has a big play into what a seller actually gets for a property or what a buyer pays for a property.
Now, since we're on your fishing yacht and the show's The Modern Architect, share with us the design of it. Did you purchase the boat as is, or did you make adjustments to fit your?
So this is a Cabo yacht.
Okay.
This is my third Cabo. Like I said, I've always been a fisherman. This boat I found in Alabama, and it needed a whole lot of work. So it did not look like this when I bought it.
Did you do all the design yourself, or did you have?
I mean, the design is there. The Cabo is a very solid boat.
Sure.
But I had it shipped to Mexico, and then I picked it up in Mexico, brought it up here, and it went right to Basin Marine Shipyard, where it spent 6 months getting completely redone. And that was 2017.
How did you know, like, this is what you want out of it?
So I've as I've shared, I fished my whole life, and I've had a bunch of boats. This is actually number 8, my third Cabo. So I had I had this exact same boat built in 2003, and I had that for about 10 or 11 years. I sold that to buy a bigger boat, which I regretted after I bought it. And then it took me 2 years to find this. So that was the chain of events in the Cabos. I bought a bigger Cabo, and I just didn't like it as much as I liked this one.
Yeah. So what's the difference in your experience from real estate and the boat? Because they're dwellings. They house humans.
You know what? They're both pretty. They both have their elements. They both have their design. I mean, I think a nice boat is similar to a nice house from an architecture and design standpoint.
Yeah. So that's why you chose the Cabo.
Oh no, the Cabo is sleek. It's pretty. If I had to put a label on it, it's a high-end contemporary home.
Nice. So on the subject of design, do you specifically, I don't want to say target, homes that that, wow, this design will attract a buyer? Or
So very good question. So designs and styles have changed as the years have gone on. And I've got a number of architects I really like. If you ever heard of Mark Singer, he was a good friend of mine. I did a lot of work with Mark. I used to sell his spec deals as well for him. He's unfortunately passed away, but there's some other very good architects. I love Chris Light. There's a number of very good ones I like. But from a design standpoint on what people actually like, I mean, it's changed. It used to be a bigger mix of styles. I mean, even at one point Tuscany was in, which along the coast here is not anymore. The hot styles today are contemporary, craftsman, modern farmhouse, anything light, bright, beachy, mid-century, modern. Those are the hot styles. Anything that falls outside of that in this current real estate climate, a little harder to sell.
Yeah. And when you say it's harder to sell, is it the time to sell, or is it to attract a?
It's both. So time to sell, and then also you don't tend to get as big of a premium as those styles.
As premium.
Premium, yeah.
Okay. Share with us. Do you have a favorite?
Do I have a favorite?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a real estate junkie.
Okay.
I shared with you, I used to own a couple homes in Hawaii. I love the Hawaiian architecture, which is not a hot style. Highly recommend against it here.
But you still love it. Yeah.
I love it. No, I mean, okay. I love it. I also love contemporary. I love craftsman, light, bright, beachy. For me, it's more of the house itself and not the exact style, so to speak.
Okay. This is The Modern Architect on KZSU Stanford 90.1 FM. We're talking today with John Stanaland, luxury Orange County real estate broker and principal. Our acknowledgement today and public service announcement is for the Marine Mammal Center. The Marine Mammal Center advances global ocean conservation through rescue and rehabilitation, scientific research, and education. And they're located in Laguna Beach, California. Feel free to visit their website at marinemammalcenter.org. Again, that's marinemammalcenter.org. John, share with us how and why the Mammal Center matters to you.
Well, it's fantastic on so many levels. I mean, one, my wife is a veterinarian. She's on the board. A board member, and also she works there, does the rescues. We do a lot of the rehabilitated elephant seal releases off of our boat here. We take them out offshore.
Do you really?
We do.
Oh, that's awesome.
The gentleman who started it, John Cunningham, local Laguna Beach legend, lifeguard, high school teacher. I went to kindergarten in school with his daughter from kindergarten on. He was also one of my absolute favorite high school teachers. Just great guy. Unfortunately, passed away this last year. But he started the center, and even as a kid, I grew up in an oceanfront in Laguna Beach. Grandparents. We used to, as kids, help rescue the seals off the beach that were sick. We'd bring them up, put them on the patio, and call the SEAL Center. And so it's been a lifelong relationship.
That's outstanding. I asked you earlier, why did John Cunningham, why did he matter to you? What was so meaningful about him?
Fantastic guy. I mean, funny story. Like I said, I was in kindergarten with his daughter, and the very first time I met John Cunningham in kindergarten, he came in and made Winnie the Pooh pancakes for the whole class. And for whatever reason, I was sick and I threw them up, and he razzed me all the way through high school, but just great guy. I mean, he taught science and survival class in high school, and he was just one of my absolute favorite teachers. Just great guy.
Yeah. How is it? It sounds like that's how you like to work professionally as well. Is to be really, he influenced you without.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No,
okay.
I how I like to work. I'm very personal. I like to take care of my clients, sense of urgency. Just I always like to do what I say I'm going to do. Very live and let live type of a person.
Yeah. What have we not talked about on your show today that you'd like to share with the audience, John?
I mean, good question. You're covering a lot of ground here. You're covering a lot of ground.
Thank you. Yeah, if there's anything that you just thinking of while we're talking, or in the future of real estate, the future of design, the future of architecture, the future of boating, the future of fishing. What?
Yeah, I mean, I think the future of real estate and architectural design. I think from the standpoint of Orange County real estate, I think this area is going to continue to be more and more valuable. I think it's going to be more sought after. We're seeing more and more people moving down from San Francisco, LA. I mean, very everything from us to very high profile people. The our primary buyer pool used to be local, LA, San Francisco, Texas, Vegas, Arizona, and that has really shifted. As of recent, I would say more it's local, it's up LA, San Francisco, and then of course we have some of the international and some of the East Coast. But this has become such a big destination, and some of the homes that are being built here, some of the architecture is just fantastic. Like I've got one closing next week at the Montage for $30 million, and it was the architecture is 10 years old, but it's beautiful. I've got another one I just sold last night that's a contemporary design, and we put that under contract for $20 million. So
it's terrific. John, it's been a real honor and pleasure having you on the show. Thank you very much for inviting us aboard and sharing your insight and experience. And how many generations is it? Fifth generation in real estate design development. It's outstanding. It's very rare. Have you even met anybody with that legacy?
Not as of yet.
Okay, that's exactly why we wanted you on the show, because you have the legacy. And what we all share is the built environment. I love it. You've been listening to The Modern Architect. I'm Tom Dior. Our guest today has been John Stanaland, real estate broker and principal. John's family history in real estate spans several generations and started in, if I'm correct, 1919?
My grandfather, yes.
Okay, 1919. I love that year, 1919. For more information, feel free to visit johnstanaland.com. Again, that's johnstanaland.com. Join us again next time when we welcome another outstanding architect, engineer, influencer, or civic leader committed to positive and sustainable cities, communities, and lives. Today's episode is made possible by Modeler, the rapidly growing community for AEC professionals to find and share design inspiration. Created and maintained by architects, join hundreds of thousands of other AEC professionals who are part of the Modeler community. Visit modeler.com and follow Modeler on your favorite social media channels for regular design inspiration.